The highway stretches out ahead, a black ribbon cutting through an endless sea of darkness. I'm gripping the wheel of my Peterbilt, the hum of the engine the only companion for miles. It's nearly 3 a.m., that dead time of night when reality starts to warp, and the line between what's real and what isn't blurs. I've been on the road for 18 hours straight, hauling a load of timber to a sawmill in Nebraska. This stretch of Route 87 is barren, empty but for the occasional trucker's diner or rusting gas station that looks like it hasn't seen a customer in decades. The CB radio crackles with static, but no one's talking tonight. The loneliness doesn't bother me. It's part of the job. What bothers me is what I see on the horizon. It starts as a faint glow, just over the next rise. At first, I think it's headlights from another truck, but there's something off about the way the light pulses, flickering in and out like a firefly caught in a jar. As I crest the hill, the glow grows brighter, more intense, and suddenly, there it is, a figure standing in the middle of the road. It's a man, or at least it looks like one. He's tall, wearing a tattered coat that flutters in the breeze, though there's no wind. His face is hidden beneath the shadow of a wide-brimmed hat, but his eyes, they're glowing. Bright, white-hot pinpricks of light staring directly at me. I slam on the brakes, the truck skidding to a stop mere feet from him. My heart's pounding so loud it drowns out the hiss of the air brakes. He doesn't move, just stands there, those glowing eyes locked onto mine. And then he smiles. It's not a normal smile. It's too wide, stretching impossibly far, as if his face is tearing apart at the seams. I can see teeth, too many of them, gleaming like shards of broken glass. The CB radio crackles to life. "You see him too?" A voice asks, shaky, barely audible over the static. I grab the mic with trembling hands. Who the hell is that?" There's a pause, then, "Get out of there. Now." I don't need to be told twice. I slam the gearshift into reverse, but the figure suddenly moves. Not towards me, upward. He shoots straight into the air like a rocket, vanishing into the night sky. For a moment, there's nothing but the eerie glow of the taillights and the pounding of my heart. Then I see it. A shadow, massive and unnatural, stretches across the road ahead. It's not cast by my lights. It's something else entirely, something above me. I lean forward, peering through the windshield, and my blood runs cold. It's him, floating above the truck, his coat billowing like the wings of some giant bird. His glowing eyes pierce through the darkness, locking onto mine once more. And then he starts to descend. The CB crackles again. "Don't look at him," the voice warns. "For the love of God, don't look." Too late. The next thing I know, the world shifts. It's like the truck and I have been picked up and dropped into another dimension. The highway's gone. The night sky is a swirling vortex of crimson and black, and the air feels thick, oppressive, like I'm breathing through a wet towel. The figure is still there, floating just a few feet in front of me, but now I can see him clearly. His skin is ashen, his features sharp and angular, almost alien. Those teeth, dear God, those teeth, are chattering, clicking together in a sound that makes my skin crawl. And then he speaks. "Where do you think you're going?" His voice isn't a voice at all. It's a feeling, a vibration that rattles my bones and fills my head with images. Images of death, destruction, endless highways littered with the wreckage of trucks just like mine. I try to move, to reach for the gearshift, but I'm frozen. My hands are glued to the wheel, my body paralyzed by some unseen force. The figure leans closer, his glowing eyes filling my vision, and whispers, "You're mine now." The sound of a horn blaring snaps me back to reality. I blink, and suddenly, I'm back on Route 87, my truck idling in the middle of the road. The figure is gone, the night silent once more, but the fear remains. I don't know what I saw that night, or how I got out of it. Maybe it was a hallucination brought on by exhaustion, or maybe, just maybe, it was something else. Something that's still out there, lurking in the shadows, waiting for its next victim. All I know is, I've never driven that stretch of highway again. And I never will. You don't just shake off something like that. Even now, every time I close my eyes, I see those glowing eyes staring back at me, feel the weight of that voice in my chest. But what really keeps me awake at night is what happened a week later. I had just parked at a rest stop off I-25, somewhere in Wyoming. It was late, close to midnight, and the place was empty except for a couple of other rigs parked at the far end of the lot. The air was biting cold, and the wind howled through the trees like a pack of wolves on the hunt. I killed the engine, grabbed a thermos of coffee, and settled into my bunk, hoping for a few hours of peace before the next leg of my haul. I must have dozed off because the next thing I remember is waking up to the sound of footsteps outside the cab. They were slow, deliberate, crunching against the gravel. My first thought was that it was another driver. Maybe someone looking for a light or a cup of coffee. But something about the rhythm of those steps made my skin crawl. It was too even, too purposeful, like whoever or whatever, it was knew exactly where they were going. Right to me. I stayed perfectly still, listening as the footsteps circled the truck. Once, twice. Then they stopped, right outside the driver's side door. My breath hitched. I reached for the tire iron I kept under the seat, my fingers brushing against the cold steel. My mind raced, trying to come up with a plan. Do I open the door? Flash my lights? Start the engine and peel out of there? Before I could decide, a soft tapping came from the window. Tap, tap, tap. It wasn't frantic or aggressive. It was calm, almost polite, but that made it even worse. I didn't want to look. Every instinct screamed at me to keep my eyes forward, to not acknowledge whatever was out there. But curiosity is a hell of a thing. Slowly, I turned my head. There, pressed against the glass, was a face. Not a human face, though it tried to be. The skin was pale, almost translucent, stretched too tightly over the bones beneath. The eyes were gone, replaced by two empty sockets that seemed to suck in the light around them. Its mouth was impossibly wide, the corners stretching up into a grotesque parody of a smile, and within that gaping maw were rows upon rows of jagged teeth. It didn't move, didn't make a sound. It just stared, or at least it felt like it was staring. Like it could see straight through me, peeling back my flesh and bone to study the raw fear underneath. My grip on the tire iron tightened. "What do you want?" I managed to croak, though my voice barely rose above a whisper. The thing tilted its head, as if considering my question. Then, slowly, it raised a hand, long bony fingers ending in razor-sharp nails, and tapped on the glass again. Tap, tap, tap. It wasn't trying to get in. It didn't need to. It was letting me know it could if it wanted to. I don't remember much after that. Panic does strange things to the mind. Somehow, I managed to get the engine started and peel out of that rest stop like the devil himself was chasing me. Maybe he was. I drove until the sun came up, until the world felt normal again. But deep down, I knew I hadn't escaped. Not really. Because when I pulled into a truck stop for breakfast later that morning, I noticed something on the driver's side window. 3 deep scratches carved into the glass. After that night, I swore I'd hang up my keys for good. No more long hauls, no more empty highways, no more shadows in the dark. But trucking isn't just a job. It's a way of life. Pulls you back no matter how much you want to walk away. And so, 3 months later, I found myself behind the wheel of my rig again, heading east on I-90, the load behind me heavier than the fear I carried. It was early morning, the sky a bruised shade of purple, with just a sliver of dawn breaking on the horizon. For hours, the road had been empty, the kind of quiet that presses on your chest like a weight. I told myself it was just another night, just another stretch of highway. But when the CB radio crackled to life, that illusion shattered. "Breaker, breaker," came a voice, rough and distorted, as if the speaker was too close to the mic. "You're not alone." My hand shot to the CB mic. "Who's this?" I asked, my voice tight. The radio hissed with static. Then, laughter. Low and guttural, like the sound of something scraping against bone. "Look behind you." I don't know why I obeyed. Maybe it was morbid curiosity, or maybe some part of me already knew what I'd see. I glanced at the side mirror, and my stomach dropped. A truck was barreling down the highway behind me. But it wasn't a normal truck. Its headlights glowed an unnatural red, cutting through the darkness like twin flames. The grill was mangled, twisted into a snarling maw, and the trailer behind it dragged sparks across the asphalt as if it were too heavy to carry. It wasn't gaining speed. It didn't need to. It was matching mine perfectly, its presence a relentless reminder that it was there, that it was coming. I slammed the gas pedal, pushing the Peterbilt to its limits. The engine roared, the speedometer creeping past 70, 80, 90. The wind howled around the cab, the vibrations rattling my teeth. But the phantom truck stayed with me, its headlights growing brighter, closer. And then it honked. The sound was deafening, a guttural blast that reverberated through my skull. It wasn't a normal horn. It was alive, an unholy scream that echoed with rage, with hunger. My hands shook as I gripped the wheel, the weight of fear pressing harder with every second. The CB crackled again. "You can't outrun it," the voice said, mocking. "It's already here." I glanced at the mirror once more, and froze. The truck wasn't behind me anymore. It was beside me. I could see into the cab now through the window, but there was no driver. Just a shadow, dark and rippling, like smoke trapped in a bottle. It turned toward me, or at least it felt like it did, and though it had no face, I could feel its grin wide and cruel. The truck swerved, ramming into the side of my rig. The force nearly sent me off the road, the tires screeching as I fought to keep control. Sparks flew as metal ground against metal, the trailer behind me fishtailing wildly. "Stop it!" I screamed, though I knew it was useless. Another hit, harder this time. My rig tilted dangerously, one side of the wheels lifting off the asphalt. My heart pounded, sweat streaming down my face as I wrestled with the wheel, trying to steady the truck. And then, just as suddenly as it appeared, it was gone. The phantom truck vanished into thin air, leaving nothing behind but the lingering scent of burning rubber and the distant echo of that hellish horn. My rig shuddered, the tires slamming back onto the road, and I pulled over to the shoulder, gasping for breath. I sat there for what felt like hours, the engine idling, my hands trembling against the wheel. The sun was rising now, bathing the highway in soft golden light. But even the warmth of day couldn't chase away the cold that had settled deep in my bones. I climbed out of the cab, needing to see the damage for myself. The side of the trailer was mangled, deep gashes carved into the metal as if by claws. But what chilled me to the core was the message etched into the paint, written in long, jagged scratches. "See you soon. I don't drive at night anymore. Hell, I don't drive much at all." I sold the Peterbilt, took a job delivering supplies to local stores. Short hauls, daylight only. People think I've gone soft, that I'm just another trucker who couldn't hack the grind. They don't know. They wouldn't believe me if I told them. But every now and then, when I'm lying awake in the dead of night, I hear it. The sound of that horn, distant but unmistakable, cutting through the silence like a blade. And I wonder if the message on my trailer was a promise or a warning.